everybody! You're listening to Accounting Makes Sense, an MJ the Tutor podcast, and I am your host, MJ. In this podcast, we are focused on helping accounting students all over the world by offering a quick warm-up on various accounting and business topics, hoping to generate bigger discussions and conversations around them. For this episode, I am going to offer a few tidbits on the Strategic Case Study, SCS, for May 2025. The pre-scene has been out for about a couple of weeks now, so a lot of you students would probably already have started analyzing and going through the information. You may already have some of these tidbits floating around in your mind. Anyway, just a disclaimer that these tidbits are like clues into the world of the pre-scene company, as well as they are just my opinion about the pre-scene material. All it is are really quick and fast intakes of the information that's been given to us. I always believe that as you read the pre-scene more, you'll get more and more insights into it. So let's start off with the background information for this pre-scene. Our company is a company called Leothair, which is a quoted company that provides a range of solutions to customers' needs for small satellites that are generally in low Earth orbit, or LEO as they are called in the pre-scene, or LEO, and is based in the fictitious country called Wexland. So this is really an exciting topic, and I'd say quite unique. The industry is not really very common. Well, most industries are kind of fairly unique to all case studies, but this particular one is really very unique. It's not as common as other industries, and it's not often we get the chance to explore businesses like this in such depth, which makes it really particularly interesting. Many case studies do lean toward more technologically advanced companies, so in that sense, this one fits the trend. So let's start with our tidbits. Our first tidbit to share is on exposure from dependence on government and regulation. This one's a biggie. Let's look at something we don't always pay enough attention to in the strategy of companies, which is external dependencies. In the case of Leothair, we see signs that it operates in an ecosystem shaped heavily by government initiatives. For example, we read about the Wexland government signing the Space Junk Charter and about public universities rolling out new degrees in space-related fields. That tells us there's government interest in this industry, maybe even government funding or policy support in space activities. But here's the thing. That can cut both ways, right? What if regulations become stricter? What if subsidies dry up? What if a future government takes a different view of space activity or prefers other companies? This is where CIMA's external environment analysis tools come into play. So something like PESTEL, where we can look at the different aspects of PESTEL, like political aspect or legal pressures, to check whether Leothair can actually protect its long-term position. We can also use scenario planning, which is a core strategic topic, to model the financial and operational impact of different policy futures. For example, what happens if subsidies are reduced, if satellite launch regulation tightens, if international competition heats up? By building these what-if models, Leothair can stress test its plans against uncertainty. Leothair could also develop a public affairs strategy, essentially a proactive approach to managing its relationship with government stakeholders. This isn't just about lobbying. It's about thought leadership, engagement in regulatory conversations, and being seen as a responsible, forward-looking industry player. That credibility can help influence policies in the business's favor, or at least prepare it for what's coming. Leothair already takes great care to comply with all applicable regulations, as is mentioned on its risk register. The management pays close attention to ongoing developments and already works with government agencies and regulators to shape the future development in this industry. So while it actually strengthens the case for Leothair operating in a highly regulated government-sensitive environment, it also actually directs us that there is vulnerability in the sense that the policy could turn, right? Political leadership could change. And even the best aligned compliance strategy may not protect long-term revenue or positioning. So just be aware of that. The second tidbit is on satellite construction risks and the need for reliability. So let's get on to the satellite. It's not just about pretty pictures, but of course the ugly truth of what could go wrong with these satellites. We saw in the article from Central City University that satellites have to survive extreme conditions: microgravity, temperature swings, cosmic radiation, and launch vibrations. So even the wrong type of metal screw can mean mission failure here. This isn't just engineering issues, it's actually a strategic one. Now, I want to draw your attention on the risk register. It does talk about the satellite becomes the responsibility of the customers as soon as we deliver it on the launch site. And this kind of just passes the responsibility to them. But at the end of the day, if the satellite fails in orbit, the customer trust is also gone. And that's what's problematic here. It does damage your brand. It delays future launches of other things. So we got to just be careful about this. And although we put things in place, it may not be enough to address this issue. There is really a high risk involved and perhaps a high impact on our business if any of our products fail. And hence why there's a bigger importance placed on the construction of the satellite. Any failure can actually result in a big brand damage for us. So we got to be careful about that and ensure our products are good when they go out. So the third tidbit for this pre-scene is managing the space junk crisis, which is a strategic responsibility that we have. This actually dives into ethics, sustainability, and all that topic. Why is it important for us to clean our mess in space? And it's really not optional anymore for any business to not care about its environmental impact. Now, there are a lot of information on the pre-scene talking about debris that are, floating around in orbit, how these debris, if they are left in orbit, they could cause damage. And as we know, we've learned that there are a lot of debris, a lot of items that are floating around in orbit, since these items are just going to increase over time, because as we send more and more satellite out there, this debris or space junk is going to become a more serious problem. We also know that the government has signed the Space Junk Charter, which, of course, at this time, it's not law yet, but it does set expectations for responsible space operations. That's where Leothair has a choice. We can treat this as an additional cost or as a brand opportunity for us. This is really the domain of corporate governance and sustainability. CIMA guides on responsible business practices, which actually includes governance and sustainability, reminding us that reputational risks, especially in an industry with few players, can shape investor confidence and stakeholder trust in our business. So really very important for us to take note of this. This could also be a source of differentiation. So I think this topic is really going to be important at the exams. The last tidbit I'm going to share is on financial health and actually trying to balance the growth ambition of this company as well as financial sustainability. So here we talk about money, right? Leothair looks like it's really in an exciting growth phase, and it's operating in a high-tech, capital-intensive industry, but we still need to ensure we remain financially healthy. The issue here is that it can probably easily go wrong for this type of company. Leothair's projects typically span a considerable amount of time, often ranging from 12 to 18 months, and in some cases, they can be as short as 4 to 6 months, but it's still time, right? These duration of these projects has several financial implications for the company, particularly in managing cash flow, resource allocation, and risk mitigation. Leothair's industry requires substantial capital investment in both infrastructure and technology. These investments are necessary to ensure the company can deliver high-quality, reliable products. The industry that Leo Thayer is in also, and the scale that it operates in, is heavily driven by innovation. So research and development is also crucial for the company to stay competitive and maintain high standards in its design and manufacturing. The failure risk, as mentioned, on our third point, is really considerable, right? Satellites are tested rigorously, but of course, there's always a chance that something could go wrong, which could lead to significant financial losses and reputational damage. So while the market for satellite technology is expanding rapidly, we just got to be careful that we are managing our finances properly and effectively, because things can go wrong very fast, especially when it comes to money. I'd say definitely this is a topic that requires watching out for. I think it's going to be something that may come up at the exams. And that is it for me today. I am your host, MJ the Tutor. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did find it helpful, please be sure to subscribe or follow to catch the release of the next episodes. You can also connect with me on various social media like Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, BlueSky, YouTube, under the handle MJ the Tutor. You can also visit my website, www.mjthetutor.com. Till next time, ciao for now.